in Prague and online all over the world, welcome. First of all, I thank Jan Čepanek, head of the scenography department, to take over this project and to incorporate this in the regular curriculum of DAMU. This creates also the possibility that each coming PQ international workshops can be organized for students as well as for theater professionals coming to PQ from all over the world. So now a bit about the program. We start with a presentation of about 20 to 25 minutes, and this will be followed by demonstrations by the attendants of the 2 workshops we have had, who can explain which difficulties they experience and which solutions they found. Of course, this can be followed by hands-on by our live public, supported by the workshop attendants. I understood that our online followers can use a chat possibility to ask questions or give comments. During the hands-on, we will try to reply as much as possible to all questions. So now a bit about the history of the project. During a Neustadt meeting in Cairo, we had a bus trip to the pyramids, on which I heard for the first time that the heritage machinery of the Burla Theater will be removed in sake of renovation works. Yeah, this was shocking news for me, as I had used its technology several times in the 70s. If this trip would not have happened, it would have been removed in the deepest silence. The youth theater was not allowed to change anything the Royal Dutch Theater had hanging in the pipes, because both companies were working in the same building. Just try to do a musical with many scene changes, with perhaps 2 pipes free. So, in search for possibilities, I discovered to me unknown strange machinery in the understage. But it was easy to see how this could work. The technical director told me this was old, unused machinery not used in an eternity, and warned me using it was looking for problems. But I persisted, and they worked perfectly and solved my scene change problems. So at this international conference that we organized in Antwerp, I pointed out a lot of failures to the planned renovation, not at least with the sidelines, as they wanted to have an acting area of 40 meters wide, and this behind a portal opening being 10 meters wide. I can assure you that the historic frame of the portal was, and still is, not transparent. At the closing dinner, my neighbor was the Canadian Peter McKinnon, and as non-alcohol drinker, I passed all my wine glasses to him, and at the end of that dinner, he promised that he will convince his York University to support an international conference on the matter. And so it happened. As a result of the conference, the German organization Perspective proposed the Burla Heritage Theater machinery to Europa Nostra as one of the 7 most endangered historic sites in Europe. And Europa Nostra accepted the Burla machinery in its lists for 2014. So from then on, this news was broadcasted on national Belgian TV and found its way to many Flemish newspapers. the renovation plans were stopped, and now a new one has been set up, keeping the historic machinery on its site. The project Back to the Future of Heritage Theatre Technology was started in response of the renovation plans in 2013 of the Burla Theatre in Antwerp, including the removal of all heritage stage technology in fly tower and understage. And in 2014, as a result of that international conference held in Antwerp, Europa Nostra indeed declared the Burla heritage machinery as one of the 7 most endangered heritage sites in Europe. And a new international public tender was launched, requiring all heritage machinery to remain on site. This tender was won by the group around the London-based DRDH architects. After continuous demonstrations during stage set scenery, the scale model was given on loan to the Beuth Hochschule. Many historic theaters renovated, deleting their heritage theater machinery. So where these unexpected possibilities could be used. So here I changed from approach and went in search for alternatives, preferably low budget, to use similar sustainable technology for spaces even without a historic understage. Unexpected possibilities for any found space used for contemporary productions inside or even in the open air. In a presentation during that conference, I showed the rigging of wing chariots in a closed circuit in the understage. This was supported by a demonstration in a 1:10 scale model. So you can add as many partly counterrakes as needed for your set. There is no need to cover the whole stage with a counterrake that in front then has to be almost 1 meter high. You could also slide a counterrake platform to the side stage, making a scene change in the side wing and bring it up again. Heritage theatre technology has many unexpected possibilities as it never has been used in the past. But the artistic director of a toneelhuis, that's the company who's working in the Burla Theatre, argued that his own productions using this heritage could not travel to other performance spaces. So the project Back to the Future of Heritage Theatre Technology works on contemporary alternatives for this versatile but underestimated technology that can be used even on spaces without any theatrical accommodation at all. We had our first workshop in Cardiff during the 50th anniversary celebration of Oistad in 2018. The workshop was accommodated in a classroom of 13 to 8 meters, and the place of action containing a truss structure was restricted to 6 by 6 meters. It was also the purpose to use relatively cheap materials. The understage was built with 12 millimeter thick sheets on 18 millimeter thick strips of MDF. And this brand of rails are 42 millimeters high and are put on place. Trolleys can slide inside, and then pulleys will guide the ropes. Once the rigging is done, MDF sheets cover our understage, which is no more than 40 meters deep. This was the situation in Cardiff. Now it is even lower, it is 3 centimeters deep. So once the rigging is done, place your wagons where needed, and you can move things on and off stage. From time to time, you can see even attendants of the Oystad anniversary came in to have a look and be informed of the activity. And after the workshop, the result was demonstrated in several public demonstrations. During this presentation, students came on stage to demonstrate how heritage technology can be used with an understage of 4 centimeters. This is the system where we move on and off each wagon with wing chariots in the understage, each one separately. So you see, the students are explaining what they have done and show how it has been rigged, explain it. So the restrictions by the shape, I was too early to push. The heritage cassette and core system up to now is only found on and used in a multi-level understage. So introducing now a cassette and core system on stage on another non-historical use. Slide it into a wing chariot, moving up and down on a moving chariot, a projection screen manipulated by drum A, 2 wing chariots traveling simultaneously in opposite direction, manipulated by drum B. But so how to manage this without an understage? To demonstrate this with our 4 centimeter understage, the cassette and core system is mounted on a wagon. The core slides into the cassette. The necessary pulleys are added. The blue line shows the rigging. Again, no scale model here, we work in one-to-one conditions. But 2 persons needed now, one for the horizontal move of the cassette and core system on and off stage, and one to have a separate move with the core of the system going up and down. Main problem with this first workshop, I brought a bunch of necessary material with me to Cardiff in my car. A Citroën Berlingo, so including the parts of MDF sheets for the alternative understage. My Berlingo was scarcely overloaded. It survived the travel, but nevertheless I should use a lighter weight material for the next workshop occasions to spare my Berlingo. And that next workshop was in May 2019 in Gothenburg, Sweden. I found a lightweight plastic material with a honeycombed core structure in it, sheets from 28 millimeter thick. Lightweight, but this one not exactly cheap. With this height of new understage, we used the curtain rails on sliders, which were kindly offered to this workshop project by Showtex. They are 30 millimeter wide and exact 28 millimeter high. But as this alternative understage floor was no more hollow with a trap closing it, the rigging had to be different. To be able to screw in the pulleys, we had to reinforce the head of the honeycomb plastic with a piece of robust wood. Starting on one side of the wagon, you turn over two pulleys to the other side of your stage, where it turns back over a pulling system to end at the other side of your wagon, forming a closed circuit. We use cheap trolleys that can be found in any do-it-yourself shop, but it is clear that for a smooth travel, it would be better to handle the rope with a drum. The trolleys are attached to an alternative elevator system that will be explained later. Also, moving up and down should work easier with a dedicated drum.
We can add a rail. Now we use the rails to put it, to fix it.
Thank you to take over.
Rail on it where a counterweight can slide. So then it will work very smooth.
Okay, the cassette system is designed that way that I can have a counterweight in the back of it. And at the International Conference in Antwerp 2014, we showed unexpected possibilities controlling two combined movements with one drum.
Thank you, here we go, start.
A counterweight balances the elevator with statue, and at the same time, this elevator with statue is the counterweight to the movement of the rotating stair. We have to create a closed circuit moving around the drum to start the Buddha apparition. Instead of having a counterweight to balance the elevator, we could use also another elevator with a set element as a counterweight. This way, we move three stage elements by using just one drum. But not every space has an understage. So we built a case with three balancing elevators for proving its workability, because this was all theory that is shown by slides. So a counterweight balances, I have to move. This technology could also be used as a scenographic element on stage. So that's the way it's rigged and moved. Students here in Sweden start to put the parts of the elevator system together, while other students are assembling a cassette and core system in the front. The alternative elevator system is built in front of the stage. At the back on stage, students are preparing a low-budget flying system. So the combined elevators explained by the students in Gothenburg. So you understand what you can say when you move the elevators during the hands-on? I was also invited to show my alternatives for heritage stage technology on the Stage Set Scenery show in Berlin in June 2019. But here the elevator block has been put on rails so it could also move front and backwards. And the public was invited to manipulate themselves the ropes for the different techniques. Here the cassette and core system demonstrated during the workshop in Seville.
Stop there.
Moving on and off with the wagon, as well as the movement up and down from the cassette and core system, is with a rather jerky movement, due to the manipulate these actions pulling the ropes by hand. So to have a smooth traveling, both movements should better be controlled by a drum. But let us have a look at another type of drum, the degrading drum. Historically, a degrading drum is only found above the grid in the fly tower. So at a conference in Antwerp, I proposed to introduce it also in the other stage by fixing drums of different diameters to transform an existing appeal drum into a degrading drum. The larger the diameter, the longer the travel distance on stage per rotation of the appeal drum. Used in the understage, you could, for example, create a ballet of moving masts. Imagine what you can do with this, with backlight, creating moving shadows to the front, or front footlight throwing moving shadows on a backdrop. But this, of course, is still theatrical and needs to be moved. So to realize this here for the first time, we borrowed the degrading drum from the 1:4 scale model that Chris van Gouten developed to demonstrate the historic use of heritage machinery. We had to experiment with a few traffic pools on the moving platforms, but it is clear you can put any scene element on the wagons, moved by one student turning a degrading drum to move 3 pairs of wagons in opposite direction, crossing the complete stage. In Gothenburg, we didn't use the degrading drum, but a few budget-friendly pulleys to manipulate the wagons going simultaneously on and off stage, crossing each other. And for the Iberian tour, on which we had planned workshops in Sevilla, Spain, and Évora and Porto in Portugal, we used our first homemade degrading drum. We show the rigging around the degrading drum, where it should run each time degrading twice to have a better grip. And for the rigging between the different wagons, where we used tensioners to lead the rope in the right direction to the drum and back to the next wagon. Okay, this tour started in March 2020 in Sevilla. Also set up in a relatively large classroom, it could give a scaled impression, but nevertheless, these alternatives are made in real size that can be used in the largest theater, as we will see later. Again, at the conference in Antwerp in 2014, we showed in the 1:10 scale model also a traveling turntable. It has been introduced for the first time at the workshop in Sevilla. The outline of the turntable had to be restricted to 1.68 meters to fit into my berlingo, divided in 2 parts, a movable wagon with a central hole in which a shaft can rotate by support of a self-made ball bearing system that drives the turntable. This system is not completely finished here, and as you can see, the rope that makes the turntable turning is not embedded in the rails from our understage. This workshop ended on Friday, 13 March 2020. Someone remembers that day? The first severe COVID restrictions made us terminate prematurely this Iberian workshop tour. So this was the end of the first workshop of the Iberian workshop tour. Oh, and Due to rumors coming from COVID restrictions, only a few teachers of the school were present on the public presentation. And on 14 March, we were no more allowed to dismantle the setting and even entering the school. So we had to leave materials and car on the school ground in Sevilla. As borders could close, I needed to hurry to return home. So arrived at the airport, I found out that it was not a flight to Madrid. Renfe was the Spanish railway company. So back with the bus to the railway station, being a 5 minutes walk away from my civilian accommodation. So finally, largely on time to get a train to Madrid, where I had to stroll around at the airport to await my airplane back to Brussels the next morning. And in September 2020, after the necessary COVID negative tests, I had the permission to go and get my car with workshop materials back in Sevilla. And there it looked like a real Jackson Pollock action painting, but signed by the pigeons above in the gutters. So this is another possible use of a degrading drum. In the Arenberg Theatre in Antwerp, they used the COVID restriction period to organize a workshop for their theatre technicians. And for the first time, we worked in real theatrical dimensions. We could also use their foldable platforms as structure for the degrading drum exercise. And here we found out that while turning around that degrading drum we used, then from time to time, the coming rope was shifting over the leaving rope. And when that happened, it blocked the system. So we still used the degrading drum as shown on the left. And the next workshop, we changed the degrading drum system to the one you see on the right. That way, we can separate the coming rope from the leaving rope. And the last workshop back on the program was in the Théâtre National for our French-speaking Belgian colleagues. Workshop and public presentation were held under the then still applicable COVID rules. The playing area this time was 16 meters wide, and also here we could use an amount of foldable platforms for the new degrading drum system.
Ah, ils sont pas fixés.
Time to have a drink for me. There we had 7 professionals from outside, and we had 7 technicians from the theater itself. And at the end of the presentation, public was invited to come on stage to have a closer look to all used alternatives. So, but you still hear the crispy noise when we move that new system. So we made shapes in multiplex to guide the wagons on the rails and at the same time push the rope into its groove. And you hear the crispy noise during the move. So this multiplex guides into the multiplex grooves made an unacceptable noise. And for the next workshop, we have to change that guiding system. On a wooden block, we will attach a bearing with a nylon wheel as a guide under the block and a strong ice screw in the front of it to attach the pull rope. These guiding bearings will avoid that annoying grinding sound during the movements of the wagons. We put the largest drum in the middle of the alternative hemp house you see here at the right, but it will be used to control the movement. We also should introduce steel cables to be able to manipulate heavier loads and still keep tension on the cables. The whole project was conceived to prove that this technology also can be used on any flat performance space, but in Bruges City Theatre we had to do the opposite, proving these alternatives can also be used in a historic theatre with a raked stage floor. Okay. And thanks to this new guiding system consisting of a bearing with a horizontal wheel that absorbs the downward slip, of course, caused by the gravity. Just a couple of examples. This multifunctional building was inaugurated in 1840 and received soon the nickname the Coffee Grinder. Inside of it, a theater, and it is closed in 2013 for security reasons, and it opened again in 2018. They decided to leave half of the heritage technology under the stage to realize an artist dressing room in the other half of the understage. Above this dressing room, you find still the costières that can be opened, so it is still very possible to install here our alternative wing chariot system to be able to do scene changes as we have seen now, and this covering the whole stage floor. Leaving traps in the stage floor, you could even install our alternative elevator system, movable where needed. In this theater in Portugal, a rather strange observation. When we take into account that it must have been designed in the late 1870s, it has a wing chariot system still limited to the side stages. But when we see the structure of the playing area in the stage floor, we see a structure of false streets, where you also could embed our alternative wing chariot system, similar to the theater space we have seen in Saint-Omer. Under the stage, for a contemporary performance, they have built a complicated structure to use the available traps in the stage floor for appearing and disappearing in the underground. The wing chariots only usable in the side stages. And for theater complicated appearance structure, also here I would advise to use our alternative elevator system. All these exercises have been done with rails parallel to the stage opening. This is much like the historic layout of the stage floor, but it is done to be able to demonstrate all the different possibilities for these alternatives for heritage theater technology. You can, of course, put floor, rails and drums just depending on the needs of your productions. You have, for example, also triangular standard platforms. And on these moving platforms, you could move on regular scenery, but also mount a cassette and core system on it, or install a traveling turntable on rails. So you see, you can go any way the scenography wants you having putting stuff. So if you would be interested in any unexpected possibility in your theater, feel free to contact me. So many thanks goes to the group of the Demo Theater who organized the live streaming of this event. And of course, thank you for your attention. And over now to the demonstrations by the workshop attendants who will also support you in the hands-on. Don't fear to shoot them your questions. I am also available to shoot at me. Thank you. So it was not 25 minutes, it was 37 minutes, the presentation. So up to our group of attendants of the workshop to show one for one the different things. We start to make free the stage. Okay. And here we demonstrate first the degrading drum system. Yes, please go. So, of course, you understand that this is just a narrow space of a theater, but it is the side stages included. We took already the whole space available, so you can imagine the same thing you can do with a theater opening of 14 to 16 meters, as wide as you want to do. And then, of course, with these degrading drums, the different wagons, the different chariots will be farther away from each other and spread in a larger way. What system do we prefer now? Perhaps the turntable? Okay, we open again the view. Thank you very much for the nice picture. You take the dangerous part. For the moment, yes, continue. It is quite important to keep the ropes straight because the length of the pulley who is hanging there is shorter than the length we travel. So normally in theater, of course, you have more space and then you can have a slight counterweight on this part and then you have only to make it turn around. That's why we need for the moment 2 persons to manipulate the, oh yes, we didn't show the turning of it yet. Okay. Okay, thank you. Now we come back. Okay, what we can try to do now when it comes back to us, keep one of the roads straight, block it, that it turns while it is, but I think perhaps it's safer to show this just with the lightweight chair. Excuse me for calling the chair lightweight. Okay, you can come back and then you, no, one is blocking the rope. Yes? So here you see that it turns, no, one blocks in one, and just keep it. Yes, do it. No.
I think that she needs to be blocking.
Yes, okay. So we do the same, go up then. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Okay, yes, we go back to, yes, okay, that's the way. You see, here we block the system, which means that now the turntable is forced to turn around. Okay, I think that is clear how we manipulate. So we go to the next let us say, we start with the elevator. But you can move here to see better what happens there. So it will be moved by hand now. I told already it is a better movement, smooth movement with a drum, but I'm sure she can take over. So you see, you can change things while it is down, and then put other things going up. And of course, we want also appearing another background to it. So here we have the cassette system now, who first can travel to become just behind the elevator system. Yes. Okay. And now and here we have to stop with the height of the, so you see all those things can happen. This is only a few things you can do. It leads to the imagination of the designer, how to use it, where to use it, at which moment you use it. Of course, you never have to use all things together. It's like in the regular theater, a special effect, you use one special effect and that's it. So where it's possible, you can use it. So now it's free for hands-on for the public. The students will explain whatever there are questions. You can ask the students. There are not all students. There are some professionals between them also coming from Sevilla, from the Netherlands, from Canada, from all over the world. If you want to speak Dutch, there is the Dutch talking people, and we have enough Czech people to explain. Please, up to you. Stage is for you. Thank you. Thank you. So you can try out the movements, handle the ropes, do whatever you like, and when it's breakdown, it's bad luck. Then we don't have to break it down after the show.
The other way. The other way first.
Of course, how longer the arms are, how easier it is to. That's why it's better. You see what happens. It's better that the person who manipulates here stands on, because we were not allowed to screw in the floor. Yes, take a seat. Now, when you want to make it turn on the spot itself, the drum has to be blocked.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah.
I think there is already the rope is already.
So also here, of course, to manipulate the drums to make it turn, it's better with a rope, because a steel cable will be more difficult. But with steel cables on the drum, there will be less. How you call the rope is becoming longer and longer, because we had to change several times because it stretches while we were using it. Yeah, we have 3 times only. I think it was 10 times. Retighten, yes. Het zijn een paar momenten dat ik verkeerd zet, maar... Het was dat ook. If the public wants some cards for contact.
To have it here, to have, if you can put a cover on the front, so that you don't see the elements going up and down, and you also don't see the people that are moving, so it moves magically. So if you're seeing people shoving it, or you're seeing people
And of course, the height of the elevator is also based on the space in my berlingo in the time. Of course, you can have an elevator going 5 meters if you want. Eh?
yeah. And what I did the first day, I was in here, and I took this down.
Okay.
That's a new traction method I didn't thought about. You can take, how you call,
technology. Great. And
It's actually
have you
natural
tried
height.
to have heavier weight, like to sit here and go
Yes, as long as it's balanced.
is balanced. Okay.
It's balanced.
So either
Yeah.
on the two or in the middle
Yeah,
one.
and the balance has to be quite careful. I mean,
So like a
it
kilo,
may differ from half a kilo, but certainly not more.
Okay.
Of course,
so
it still works. It still works,
We
but
just
it is
tried.
very heavy. It's very heavy.
You didn't measure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing it's important also is for example, I wanted to have this hand system moving this side, but it is not possible because the rails are on that side. And when you pull it up on one side, they are slightly going inclinated, and the wheels are taking the side of the rails, and they block the system.
So it definitely needs to be in this A.
Another possibility could be when you make it that you have rails on other sides. Then you are sure that it is not. Yeah, yeah,
Or this
I
way.
see.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So it needs
And
to,
oh sorry.
it needs to go in the direction of the way you're tracking on
Yeah.
That's why it was. We wanted to go. Of course, the plans are always more than we can realize in the time. So first of all, I think you explained already. It was the purpose to move it here, like you are. So a train chariot who is going up and down, and then it was also the plan that making this rope going there and be manipulated by. So that's. But then
so you just
you
didn't
have.
manage to, like,
Yeah,
it wasn't
yeah,
enough time
yeah.
to do that, if I understand. But it is definitely possible, no? Like to have it here, like
Yeah.
change the direction. It's not that.
But what is important of this here is not only the elevator who is on top of it. It is also the wagons. You see here. That's what I demonstrated, and I try to tell the people in the Burla Theater, do it like that, and don't put the counterweight over all the stage floor. Just use what you need. Even you can have a half a meter chariot. Here we put two chariots together, so that's 1 meter, and you put an extension between it as large and as short as you want. So you make your wagon the shape you need, and you have in this situation is I think it's 6.5% and in slope, and in the theater in the Burla it's 4.5, and 4.5 meter with this system you have maximum 20 centimeters here with a depth of 4 meters. So don't tell that you need a counterweight of 90 centimeters in front of the public. But the artistic directors there don't want to believe me. They want still to get rid of the, because the machinery, the new plans there, it will stay on place, but it will never be able to work again. You can come and see as a museum piece. That's it.
Okay.
But not use it. Then they better leave it when it's no museum, a theater. A living theater, you go to it. They say they do not want to make a museum of it, and they do. But don't tell about that, because I start to be too nervous.
No, I know. So, but did I understand well that is the last theater where it is installed?
It's the last theater in Europe of having this machinery from the period. And this is the period ending this type of, because then we move to the German system who has only flights going up and down,
Yes.
and perhaps have a turntable on
And
stage.
this is originally French system?
This is originally the Italian system, but in that period they used it only in the side stages. Like in the most of the castle theaters that you still can find, like Český Krumlov and Drottningholm, where they give presentations. but only historic presentations. They do not use it. But even you have the system on the only restricted to your side stage, you can do a lot of other things with it. Can you imagine that you have two chariots in the underground and you move them like that, and there is a beam going on stage on wheels, moving a platform on your stage. Just think out of the box, and I don't say I don't care about history, but I cannot use history on stage. I want to do it different. When a child has a broom, he doesn't start to clean the floor. He sits on it and it's a horse. So that's whatever they used in the past, you use it another way.
Of course, that's why it is not a museum. It's a living
Yes,
theater.
yes. That's what happened always. You see the change in theater. Well, now we will have the Czech renaissance of the heritage technology. Because it will be centered in Prague, in Damu now. And while you are working, you see other possibilities.
Exactly. Yes, and this is great working thing, man. So this was originally the segments were made in this first workshop
The first was in Cardiff.
in Cardiff. So
No, then we didn't have this. I tried the elevators. Then I tried the elevator system. They had a truss structure there. I don't know if you remember seeing the plans.
Yes.
And we had the rails put on the structure on this side and on the structure on that side. And we were pulling on the side. So let's say here the rails would be there and the pulling was here. At that moment, I didn't realize why it didn't work. So then you say, stop, the public does not know what we want to show. We just show the center part that you can have, and then it was easy with counterweight to make it move. But then later I realized that it was because the rails were the wrong way while you were working, because the wheels were blocking the system. So each workshop we learn more. It's discovering the possibilities. First it starts with an idea, then you have to prove it. And once you proved, you forget it, you go another way.
And you can start to experiment after.
Yes.
Great, thank you for insights.
There are some business cards you can take if you want. If you want to keep contact or ask questions later.
Thank you very much.
It looks like metal. Waffle. Yeah, it's really cool.
Nobody has more questions? Then we can have a drink. No, what we can do is how his name is Peter. He wants to get the floor off. And we have time. How much time do we have? We have 1 hour to do that.
Okay, I think it's possible to do it.
So you can make lose that you have as less work.
Er
Yes.
zijn nog vragen online.
Online. Sorry. Can you continue this then while we're doing the online questions? Excuse me a moment for a drink. Okay, where are the questions?
On the big screen.
But there I need my...
Glasses?
Yes.
Oh, and
The text is a bit small. Where are my... there. Thank you. Guido Canfin, Jerome Maeckelbergh, okay. Yeah, that's just toy. Welcome. If you want to ask, okay. Which 3D? That's a good question. Which 3D program do you use to do these animations? Can the people hear now? Was the question? So I do not use a 3D program anymore because I can't afford it. I am on pension. So the only thing I can use is a presentation program. In a presentation program, of course, there is some strange program from Microsoft, but certainly I do not use that. I use the Keynote presentation program from Apple, where, to my opinion, you can do much more. And you see all the animations are done with that program, with Keynote. Perhaps you can do similar things with, I forget the name, it's called also, when you do a presentation, we do... PowerPoint, yes, that's the Microsoft stuff. Excuse me, Microsoft, I forgot every day your name. So possibly some things are possible in PowerPoint also, but I am not sure. But anyway, in PowerPoint it will come probably because it's always behind the Apple Keynote program.
So you're the master of Keynote?
Yes,
Everything.
I do everything, even if my technical plans, and that is horrible, to do technical plans with a presentation program. You still need, like in ancient times, to draw each line, even of measurement. If you change your plan, you have to change all the stuff. That takes ages. Oh, I think that's enough for these questions. Yeah, thank you, Michele Augusto. It was great watching you. No, Jerome, it was great watching you and see that your dynamism and energy remain inspiring, and your way of dialogue with students is exemplary in transferring your experience and expertise. Well, I say it cannot be only questions, it can be remarks also. So I'm very flattered. Thank you, Piet Jasper from Europa Nostra. Piet, this is another reaction. Save in Flanders from best regards. Bon. Piet, this is is Guido Canfin. I try to reply only to real questions. So Guido Canfin says this is another fine reaction from theater passionate friends active in Flanders from the 70s. Best regards, Guido. Are there real questions? Are there? Is that all? Oh, there are no questions then. You really have no questions? Well, if you do not have any more questions, you still can contact me with my email address. I thought it was visible somewhere. Okay, it was visible on screen. So thank you very much to the people worldwide, and seriously, I expected much more questions and remarks from you. Especially a few critics is welcome too. Thank you. Thank you very well. Thank you. And thank you all for your work.